A lot of people don't know maybe that there is a miracle in the Hebrew Bible, also called the Old Testament, with the prophet Elisha, that some people pronounce Elisha. And this one involves Elisha feeding 100 men. Wouldn't think there was enough food. So we'll connect that to the power of a product rule of exponents and the story recorded in 2 Kings 4, verses 42 through 45. Let's take a look at the Bible story first in NIV. A man came from Baal Shalisha bringing the man of God. So Elisha was a prophet, and he learned from Elijah, that some people call Eliyahu. And a man came from Baal Shalisha, bringing the man of God, which means Elisha, 20 loaves of barley bread. And my understanding is back then the loaves of bread were small, not the long ones at grocery stores nowadays. They were smaller. So 20 small loaves of bread baked from the first ripe grain. And the NRSV calls it first fruits, and the interlinear calls it newly ripe grain. So this is like fresh bread. So 20 loaves of fresh bread that are small, supposedly, along with some heads of new grain, a little bit of extra. Give it to the people to eat, Elisha said. How can I set this before 100 men? His servant asked. Sometimes in these stories, we see a lot of stuff about servants and slaves. This time in verse 43, we have this word, but this particular servant was able to kind of talk back to Elisha. So just think about that. But Elisha answered, give it to the people to eat, for this is what the Lord says. They will eat and have some left over. Then he set it before them, and they ate and had some left over, according to the word of the Lord. From what I can tell, verse 43, this prophecy right here does not come from a previous part of the Bible. It looks like this is a new prophecy. And with Elisha being a prophet, according to the writing, Elisha was able to get direct messages from God. So this was supposedly a direct message from God, and he was following the directions, and the direct message said, they will eat and have some leftover. So that's the story. And that's going to connect to the topic of the power of a product rule of exponents, which says for any real numbers A and B that each have a location on the number line, they could both be the same number or different, and any integer n. So sometimes we use n for natural numbers. This time it's for an integer. So n could be a natural number like 1, 2, 3, etc., but it could also be zero, like a whole number, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And it could also be the opposite of a natural number like -1 or -7,042. The power of a product rule of exponents states that if you have the quantity AB, all raised to the power of n, you can distribute the n like those barley loaves, and it looks like there's more, A to the n times B to the n. So the story we're connecting it to is Elisha feeding 100 men and having some left over. So this was in 2 Kings, and 2 Kings again is in the Hebrew Bible, and we already said that A and B have to be real numbers, N is any integer, and then you get this. So the examples I want to give you, I think I'm going to talk about bread right now. If you have 2x to the third power, 2 is a real number, and then assuming x is a real number, has a location on the number line. 3 is obviously an integer. This is 2 to the 3, x to the 3, which means 2 times 2 times 2, x cubed, which is 8x cubed. All right, so how about negative x to the 3? So negative x, assuming x is a real number, is actually a real number. So if x is any real number, like 7, then negative x is also a real number. So you could just say like this, and that's negative x cubed. Or you could also turn negative x and then cubed into negative 1 times x and cubed, and then that's negative 1 cubed x cubed. And that time I didn't have to put parentheses around the x because there wasn't a sign in front. Negative 1 cubed means negative 1 because it's negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, and x cubed is x cubed, and then that's negative x cubed. What happens if you had 9y to the negative 1? So that means 9 to the negative 1, y to the negative 1, assuming that y is a real number. Of course, 9 is. But 9 to the negative 1 is 1 over 9. Y to the negative 1 is 1 over y. And when you multiply fractions, you multiply across the numerator and the denominator. 1 times 1 is 1. 9 times y is 9y. What would 4x to the negative 2 be? Well, negative 2 distributes and you get 4 to the negative 2 times x to the negative 2, which is 1 over 4 squared times 1 over x squared, which is 1 over 16x squared. But this is assuming something. What does this assume? That will be in the question somehow. About 1/2 times x to the negative 1 all to the negative 2. So that will be an interesting one for you guys to think about also. And everybody have a great day.